I just wanted to make a quick video. I don't know how quick it will be, but I just wanted to make a video about two things: about the symptoms of syringomyelia and why advocating for yourself is so important. And I really want to talk about those things because I think that they are extremely important for people with the same condition I have, syringomyelia, but also with any sort of condition, especially if it is chronic or rare. So syringomyelia is a neurological condition, and which, that kind of makes sense because it is affects the spinal cord. So because of this, a wide range of possible symptoms can happen. So, and also the symptoms, it's important to know that they vary from person to person. So the symptoms I have aren't going to be the same as the symptoms that somebody else with syringomyelia may have. It's very much based on where the syrinx is located, how long it is, how wide it is, all those things. They really play a big part on the symptoms that people have. So symptoms, some of them is pain. And I say that first because it is the most common symptom is pain. And that could be anywhere in the body. It could be arms, legs, back, I don't know, probably anywhere in the body. For me personally, my pain is in my lower back and my hips. And I have started feeling kind of like a tightness, sort of achy pain in my upper back also, and in the, just very recently, in the back of my head and the neck part. Almost kind of like a headache kind of pain there, and that's new to me, so it's kind of hard for me to describe it. But so pain is one of the, like, the number one symptom. Then it could be anything from numbness and tingling in your different body parts. I have begun having numbness and tingling in my arms and legs, sometimes in my torso even. I've noticed it a little bit, but that's not as common as in like my arms or legs. And that's not constantly in my arms and legs. It's kind of comes and goes, and it's not very intense. Like if you sit on your leg for a while and your leg falls asleep and then it starts tingling and like your whole leg is just like, ugh, unbearable. It's not like that at all. It's like just kind of like maybe on the top of it, very light and subtle, like just kind of like a subtle tingling, which obviously it's unsettling though, because of what I have in my back. So it wasn't really fun when I started feeling that. But it happens. So, also another symptom would be loss of sensitivity to pain or temperatures, hot or cold. I don't have that, but I know a lot of people do, and I know that it's got to be very, very hard to deal with. I know that I by no means have like the worst case of this right now. So I am very grateful, and my heart goes out to people who I know that are struggling with much more severe symptoms than I am dealing with this condition. And it's mentally exhausting for me dealing with the things that I do have to deal with it. But I would really like to draw strength from other people's experiences. So if you have this and you're going through something, if you want to, if it feels good to you to share things, some people are more private and that's okay. But if you want to and it would feel good to you to share, what you're going through, please, reach out to me. I think I have my email address private, but I'm not good with the I'm not good with like social media, YouTube thing. I think I can figure out a way to make the email address not private so that people can email if it's something you maybe don't want to say like in the comments. So that's a thing, but I guess I tricked. Other symptoms would be progressive weakness and stiffness in your body. So that could be your arms, legs, back, wherever. Headaches. I have been noticing headaches. I feel like I have been having headaches more recently than when I started paying attention, but just, you know, like you feel different things and you're like, well, that's probably nothing. It's probably something that everybody feels, and you brush it off and you tell yourself, oh, it's fine, you know. At least for me personally, I always brush things off until it doesn't go away for a long time, and then now it's alarming to me. Then I speak up and say stuff, which is not good to do. I would love to go back in time and not do that, you know, not care about what other people think, whether they, you know, would try to say I'm, you know, making it up or complain too much or hypochondriac or whatever, you know, like who cares what people say? Listen to your body and trust yourself, because really, like, who cares what anybody else says? You know your body. But also balance issues is another symptom. Also bladder or bowel control issues, and you know, among other issues too. Those are some of like the main ones that are listed. So also this condition is typically progressive, which means that it needs to be monitored closely. So this is why I get into the second reason why I wanted to make this video, the importance of advocating for yourself. I cannot stress that enough. And I am not a professional, but I have taken a lot of time and done a lot of research when, you know, I was told that I have these things. It's important for me to understand what's going on in my body. I've just always been that way. I want to know everything about it. I will read those research, you know, research articles where doctors are talking and all the fancy language. I will Google what a word means if they use it, and I don't know what that means, so that I can understand what they're talking about, because that's just how I work. And I know not everybody is like that, and that's fine, but that's how I work, and it's really important for me to understand things. But do research that feels good to you. I do think doing research is important, but you don't have to dig in so deep if that's just not your thing. But you want to make sure you have a basic understanding of the condition so that you can advocate for yourself appropriately. And the reason why this is so important with this condition, and I have a couple notes because I have some statistics here that I had found that I think is important to share. But it's so important to advocate for yourself with this condition because the cause of the blockage, so a syrinx is there's a blockage of the cerebrospinal fluid somewheres. And finding the cause of that blockage is what they need to do in order to treat it. Because if they find the cause, then they can figure out a way to unblock the whatever is causing the issue, and the syrinx can hopefully shrink and stop damaging your spinal cord, or at least not continue to get bigger. So it's very important to find a cause, because if you don't find a cause, you can't stop the blockage. And they can put shunts in, but that's really not the best option. The best option is to find the cause and fix it. So in a very small percentage of people with a syrinx in their spinal cord, they have something called idiopathic syringomyelia. And that means that in a very, very, very small percent of people who have a syrinx in their spinal cord, the doctors just can't find a cause. But that is such a small percentage, so that means that the majority of people who have syringomyelia, which is also referred to as having a syrinx in your spinal cord, there is a cause that doctors can find for most people who have it. So if your doctor is not, if tells you that you have a syrinx, but isn't really doing any extra, tests to try to find where a blockage could be, where the cause could be coming from the syrinx, then I think that's an important time to advocate for yourself and speak up about your feelings of the importance of finding a cause of the blockage. So let's talk about numbers for a second. This is where I got my little notebook. So only about, they say online, the research I found, it's not just my own saying. The research online says that only about 8 out of 100,000 people have a syrinx in the United States in their spinal cords. So, data from 2021 said that there were about 331.9 million people in America. So let's do some math. Fun, right? So, if there are 331.9 million people in America, and then 10 groups of 100,000 people would make up 1 million people. And we know that 8 out of 100,000 people have a syrinx. So we would do 8 times 10, and we get 80. So for every 1 million people, 80 of them have a syrinx. So we'll round 331.9 million to 332, just for even numbers. So if 80 out of every 1 million people in America have a syrinx, and there are 332 million people in America, then to find how many Americans estimately have a syrinx, we would need to multiply 332 by 80, and we get 26,560. So, estimately, going off of those numbers, less than 30,000 people in this whole country are known to have syringomyelia. Less than 30,000 people out of 332 million people. So think about that for a second. All right, now there could be people who don't know they have syringomyelia yet because maybe they've never had symptoms or have never had an MRI. So it's possible that the real number is a little bit higher, maybe around 40,000 or so. But if you don't know you have it, you're not being treated for it. So for the purpose of this point, we'll go with less than 30,000 people in this whole country have this condition. So given the numbers we just talked about, how often do you think that doctors or surgeons are seeing patients with a syrinx? Unless it's their specialty. Not too often, we can be sure of that. So what do we do about it? With any profession, what you repeatedly see and treat, you get very familiar with. But something that rarely comes up, you may be a little out of your element when those problems come up, especially if there's not a great instruction manual for you to easily get access to or follow. So then you add in the fact that doctors have to add, in treading very lightly because they have an added layer of complexity. They don't want to get sued for giving inaccurate or wrong information. So I no doubt think our hardworking doctors do the best they can every day. They simply are just not God. And there are some things that they just can't know if there's not much research on it. So this is where being proactive and advocating for ourselves comes into play. And also working with our doctors, and you know your body. So if one doctor can't help you, that's okay. They did the best that they could. Do your own research and get help from those around you who love you, and find a new doctor that specializes in the condition. And if that one can't help you, don't give up. Just keep looking for a doctor until you find one that you're comfortable with, for your specific concerns. Okay, just keep doing that process um, until you're somewhere where you're comfortable and you're being cared for. Please feel free to comment and reach out. I would love to hear from other people who are going through the same or similar things as me, even if it's maybe not syringomyelia, but just anything difficult that you're going through and you feel alone. I think that everybody should just be kind and supportive and there for each other. But especially people who are going through the same condition as me, I think that if we share the knowledge that we've found with each other, and things that have worked for us, roadblocks we've run into, hurdles we've had to, leap over, feelings that we've experienced in our bodies and how to maybe overcome them or live with them. I think sharing those things with each other um, can help us all. So that's my plan. That's my reason for doing this. And I am going to try to continue sharing what I learn along the way with you guys and my experiences. And I hope that I can get some information from other people too. So I hope you have a good rest of your day.